Good morning. Welcome to the Sports Deck, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook and on the New Mexico Sports Network. Our special guest today is Hope Girls soccer coach Amy Fankham. And Coach, gosh, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Coach, full disclosure, I've known you since you've been, 5, 6 years old?
Mm-hmm.
My late parents babysat you, and your dad and my brother are the best of friends. Have worked together in business for years. So,
Yep.
I've known you for a very, very long time. And you're the second-year coach there at Hope, right? You're the second-year coach. And,
Yeah.
Your team, 18-1, 7-1 in district. You're one of the top 3 seeds for the state tournament. And I'll tell you, I looked over your games, and there's some amazing statistics here, especially, defensively. 131 goals on the season, 6.9 goals per game, 118 assists, 6.2 per match. Only allowing like 0.3 goals per game. You hadn't allowed a goal until you lost to the academy, but you hadn't allowed a goal for a long, long time. Of course, we'll go over your own fabulous athletic background because it's extensive and it's helped you, I'm sure. But talk a little bit about your team this year, because I'm amazed at some of the things that I'm seeing here, especially defensively.
Yeah. No. It's an incredible group of girls. I think that we're young, which feels strange saying that because, we were in the championship game just this past spring, and but a young group of girls, but they don't play that way. They play cohesive as a team. They work for each other. Just a hard-working, gritty, great group of kids, want to win games, compete day in, day out, and a lot of depth like we've never seen at Hope before. We're a small school, actually qualifies being 3A per our size, and, opt to stay 4A for competition. And it's like nothing I've ever seen. Like I said, second year as head coach. Prior to that, I was the assistant coach there for 3 years. So I've gone through quite a few, groups of kids and skill like I've never seen, but also the will piece of it. They want to win. They show up every day. Great kids.
How does your competitive nature play into that? Because, I always go hunting for quotes about people, but I know you. I've known you for a long time, right? So
Yep.
One of the things you told me when you went to Notre Dame, I still remember this. You saw these girls in the weight room and they were really pushing it, going hard. And you said, that's where I want to go.
Yep.
So how does your competitiveness rub off? Because I know you very, very well. You hate losing more than you like winning. It's like any other coach, right? How does your competitiveness rub off on these young ladies?
I think we do, everything ends up being a competition, and whether it's for me or the girls, but we try to make sure that even when we're doing skeleton play and, just scrimmages, that we keep score, that we know who's winning. I'll, trash talk to a couple of them. Oh, yeah, come on, defense. How can you let the offense beat you that way? And it's all in good fun and in good spirit. But I think they're that same way. That's why it's such a great fit. There's times where you have kids where you're like, oh, I got to kind of tone it down. And I've never felt that way with these group of kids. I mean, they're A-okay with it. A lot of times we'll do sprints that, the loser will sprint. If you don't do the work before, you do it after, and they'll do, and the winners, I'll say, hey, feel free to hop in. Those are your teammates. And they will. I mean, they're those kind of kids that if there's work to be done, they want to put it in and they want to put it in as a team. So yes, there is no lack of competitiveness at our training sessions, our games. It's a really cool environment.
Well, some of that, again, you're the product of your coach a lot of times. And you remember, you played at La Cueva, had some success there. You were an All-American in Notre Dame. And so those things, I'm sure the girls look at that and appreciate what you bring as far as teaching. Now, the thing I wanted to ask you is soccer and speed kills in soccer, right? Speed kills.
It does. Yep.
So as a sprinter, a former sprinter, you were the 100-yard champion, 100-yard dash champion at La Cueva. How have you incorporated your running into soccer? It's short sprints, right? Short sprints.
Yep.
But how have you incorporated maybe getting a better start? You know all about that as a sprinter.
Yeah.
So how have you incorporated that into your coaching soccer?
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that. Yesterday, I was talking with one of my players up top, phenomenal player, Savannah Sanchez, number 12, and we were talking a lot about that, right? Body shape and what's the advantage of offensively going at someone where defensively they have to turn all the way around to defend you, right? So thinking about that type of stuff is how can we position ourselves where, they always talk about football's a game of inches. Well, arguably soccer is too, right? Being onsides and offsides and things like that. It's a very, very thin line. So we were talking about that, body shape. How can we get in a position where we're reacting to the point we're onsides, but we get a jump, we get another step or two ahead of the defender. So I think we talk about a lot of little things like that quite often, especially going into the state tournament where everyone you play is going to be good, right? So it is the difference of a couple inches here and there, a step or two, a second or two. So it is something that we focus on.
how was that background playing in college in the Big East, man? Right?
Yeah.
And some of the things I'm sure that you remember. And coaching is different now because there's so many things, so many resources out there, right? You
Yeah.
can tap into, and I'm sure you do. But how is that message? The things that you learned in college. You mentioned a game of inches. How's that
Mm-hmm.
worked? It seems like it's worked pretty well as far as where your team is at right now. I mean, I talked to Dave Sullivan, the Pius coach, and he says defensively, your team is very good.
Yeah, no, I think it does. I'm so appreciative of my girls. I think that, there's times I sit there and go, oh my goodness. So they sitting here going, oh, here coach goes again about the good old days and wah, 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 but they don't. They're very respectful. I think they appreciate that I have done it. I still try to hop in with them on a lot of stuff, sprint sometimes, because it's real easy as a coach to get removed from what you're asking them to do. And I think staying involved in it, knowing what you're asking of them, knowing what you're demanding of it, it has to be realistic. And I think they appreciate that. And then just being able to draw on, I've gone through plenty of wins, but I've also gone through plenty of losses, and you have to rebound from them, and it's what you learn and what you take from it. And so I think that's the piece where they sit up a little straighter, they listen a little better, just knowing that I have lived that. I've lived, both sides of it, the success side and also, defeat. I didn't win a national championship in college. I still know that, so I want them to know that you get something out of both sides of it.
I think sometimes when you're rolling along winning, I've been a part of athletics for a long time. Sometimes, no, you don't never want to lose, right? You don't want to lose, but sometimes I think it makes us refocus, right? Like, okay, well, you thought you were so good. Now look, and look what I've been telling you, right? And sometimes it lets us refocus. We never want to lose. We want to win every game, and that's not possible. It's not. But some of the things that you mentioned there, you learn from both, right? What did we execute? And then we refocus. You had that happen. You beat the Academy 2 out of 3. And they beat you the last time, right? So that sticks in your craw. I know you, Amy. I know, coach. I've always called everybody coach, but I know you. That sticks in your craw a little bit because you're like, you know what? We did beat them twice, but they got us the last time, right? So then it gives you time to stop and refocus on what the goal is.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. The Academy game was that for us, and fortunately, that happened when it did, and hopefully not in state. I hope we got that out of our system and understood that as talented as we are, we can lose on any given day to a bunch of other talented teams. So we've got to be showing up every single day. We've got to be setting the intensity, not just matching another team's intensity. We need to come in with our game plan and not try to play how other teams are getting us to play. And those are all, I think, crucial lessons that we learned during that 2-0 loss to Academy. So we'll look back at that. We're still feeling the loss of losing to Pius in the state championship back in the spring. That's something where we don't let slip far from our mind, because if we did, it'd be a missed learning opportunity. So you're so right. You've got to remember it. I think it was humbling for our girls. It was sure humbling for me. Even as a coach, there's times we get complacent. And I think it was a good reminder that we can't. The other teams, the competition is too good for us to get complacent and just show up expecting to win.
Well, that's funny. You did lose to Pius, right, last year. And Coach Sullivan mentioned that again, though. He said hope is going to be a tough out. That's one of and Coach Sullivan is involved in all kinds of different soccer coaching, right? That's what he does for a living. So much respect to him and the program. I've had a chance to do 3 or 4 of their games, and defensively, most of the games are played on their side of the field, like yours are. Most of the games defensively, again, talk about your defense here. There's some statistics I wanted to go over here, and it's amazing. Sure. 2 of your girls have 65 goals between them, Savannah Sanchez and Hannah Gutierrez. That was amazing. I mean, Savannah has 39 and Hannah Gutierrez has 26. So that to me, 65 goals between the 2 of them. Talk a little bit about that. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, so the dynamics is just wonderful. They couldn't be too opposite of players. I mean, what they bring to the game is very, very different, which is great, right? So if you're playing a defense that shuts down one particular kid or a style of play, you've got the option of someone else, and they work so well together. And it's been fun to watch that kind of come into fruition. It didn't necessarily start that way at the beginning of the year. Savannah started out, lights out, scoring tons of goals. And Hannah, I think it took her a second to kind of get, okay, where do I fit? And then she's come on so strong and done so well. So it's just great to know you have different options. For some teams, you're fortunate enough to be able to just shut down one player, and you really shut down a lot of their offense. And for us, we aren't in that position. We have that depth that we talked about. So yeah, Savannah's a sophomore. She's got a lot of her career ahead of her. Hannah's a senior. We wish her well. I hope she gets to go play, somewhere in college and light it up, because that's the type of kid she is. and we've got a lot of other kids, with 10 goals with, I think Ashlyn Salas, I think she has 10. Zelly Dominguez has quite a few. We have quite a few kids. Mia Stafford is another one that have scored a lot of goals for us. So it's always great as a coach when you get it from multiple places. You never want a kid injured. You never want a kid out. But with, COVID is what it is. You never know when there may be a couple games they have to miss. And fortunately, we have other kids that we can look to step up and just, expectations that they'll help us keep winning.
The other thing about those two, though, Coach, between Savannah and Hannah, Savannah has 23 assists and Hannah has 15. So,
yep.
Yes, they are, they score goals in volumes, but they also pass the ball too. They're
yep.
pretty good with that. So
yes.
Talk a little bit about that, because it's not just we're selfish and we're scoring. They're also pretty good. Looks like we're working with each other. And you mentioned Ziley Dominguez, 10 goals. Sienna Anaya has 5 goals. And then we'll get to your goalkeeper later. Dylan Rees has 37 saves. So
yes.
Talk a little bit about those. The assists, though, that's working
yep.
together, not just by themselves.
So we try to really pride ourselves in being a team, and it's hard, right? There is times where people recognize that recognition sometimes comes with your stats, right? But let's let recognition come with assists as well as goals. So we spend a lot of time talking about that, is that, hey, we really have got to make those split-second decisions about, are we the best option to take that shot, or is someone in a better position? And if so, it's our job as a teammate to get them the ball. And those girls have really just embodied it all over the team. There's times where I actually get frustrated because they're not selfish enough. There's certain players on our team, Ashlyn Salas is one of them, where if she would shoot the ball a little bit more, she'd be way up at the top of the list. And she's just not a selfish player. But those two as well, right? As much as Hannah and Sav shoot the ball, for them to have those assists, it shows it's truly a team sport in their eyes. And I'm so grateful that that's how they see it, and they've bought into this system. So great players. Just can't say enough positive about those girls.
Well, the enthusiasm from you is amazing. And like I said, I've known you all your life, and you've always been that way about whatever it is that you tackle. And you've got quite a bit. You got a job. You're married to a great guy, and you got 3 kids. I don't know how the heck you manage, because my son, he's an attorney. He wanted to coach. I said, son, you got enough headspace for that right now, man. There's no way, because my son
yep.
wants to, so I don't know how you do it. But I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Hope Christian Girls Soccer on the Sports Desk after these messages.
Gets it over for West Mesa. Scheller, and that's a point. Great rally that time. We got a first tip for La Cueva after they hold on downs at the Manzano 32-yard line. Arminta straight over the middle, and La Cueva immediately scores.
Booming shot towards the back post and tucked in. Neal will take the snap. Clean pocket. He steps up into it, and he'll throw it into an interception. Streaking down the field, the Cougars come alive and put 6 on the board. It's Evan Ferguson.
Tries to bend it, going right at goal. It's there, in. Fine, right there.
Pretty. Here comes some pressure. He's able to dump it off to Behill. Behill gets up to speed. Behill cutting back. Behill still on his feet. Oh, hail the king! For the touchdown.
They're going to give it to him.
Keeper will boot that one long. Here's a chance for Belen. Oh, man. Here it is. Belen, first goal of the game, belongs to the Eagles. What a play. And you know who gets the assist on that one is the goalkeeper.
said, and puts it back into space. Bynum's there. It's a race, and that one's going to dribble in. Bynum with a brace.
For Chavez and Lopez, they have been a potent duo all season. Chavez stands in the pocket. He's got plenty of time, but he keeps going backwards. He's looking for Lopez over the top, and he gets him! So
Or Fabiano Valdez.
Exactly.
Casket Bell looking deep. And it is incomplete. It ended up falling at the feet of Tristan Cordova. There's an injured player on the field. No. That got picked.
Outstanding play.
Watch the end of this play. So the ball pops up, then off a shoulder,
Off
off
his
a
cap,
leg,
off his
and
foot.
intercepted.
The energy landscape is limitless and ever-changing. Cleaner energy resources are crucial to New Mexico's environment. For 100 years, PNM has utilized cutting-edge technology and employed hard-working New Mexicans to ensure that we have consistent, reliable energy when we need it. For life's loudest moments, quietest moments, and every moment in between. We're dedicated to providing you with energy now and into the future. All you have to do is dream of what to do with it next.
A burglary takes place in the United States approximately every 15 seconds. International Protective Service is your answer for commercial and residential security in all of Albuquerque. IPS will work with your monitoring company for fast, reliable response times. You can rest easy knowing you, your family, or your company is watched over by International Protective Service. Call International Protective Service today.
I prefer to do stuff online. I can find things much quicker, do the research I need, and have it shipped or waiting for me to pick up. The Shop by Payments option was perfect for me. I got online, clicked on Shop by Payments, put in my down payment and monthly budget, and the guessing was done. From laptop, I was able to nail down the bike I wanted, add a few customizations, and get an estimate on my trade-in.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Sports Desk, live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook, live on the New Mexico Sports Network as well. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with Hope girls soccer coach Amy Fankham. And Coach, I'll tell you, thanks so much for joining us. It's just great to catch up with you personally. I haven't seen you in a while, and like I said, we've known each other since you were a little girl. And you know, your sister Carly, your father Dave, your mother Amber, just some of the greatest people. Just your husband Jay and your 3 kids. It's amazing to see where you are now. No question, you were always going to be successful at what you did, and you got a great job. You know, you got a great family life, and you're getting to coach soccer, man. Something you love. How much better does it get than that?
It doesn't.
Yeah,
That's a happy place for sure. Out on the field, coaching those kids.
Well, you know, you've got, like I said, you're amazing competitive. I've got a little quote here. Now, I always go dig for quotes about people, right? So I've got a quote from somebody that knows you, and she's been a blessing, super competitive, handles the girls with class, been great with the girls, great balance between competitiveness and what you've done there. And that comes from Hope Athletic Director Jim Murphy, who's, he's a champ himself.
Oh, he is. And you know why. You interact with him for just a couple seconds to figure out why he's been so successful and, you know, made the kids under him successful as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, you know, I've known him for years. He's won 16 championships, 16. But I'll say one thing about Coach Murphy, who I love. I've known him very, very long time. He's a great coach. There's no doubt about it. He's a great teacher. He's a great grandfather. He's a great husband. He's a great father. He's a great role model. And when I used to officiate his basketball games, and if he said something, if he yelled at me, I'd say to myself, I must have messed that one up because he doesn't yell too much. But I'll tell you one thing about that guy. I don't care if he has 200 championships. That guy competes every single game as if he has 0. His kids play so hard. And again, that was a quote. He's got the utmost respect for you. I talked to him this morning and was able to get that quote for him. You know, it's your second year as head coach, and it's your 5th year at Hope. Now, I wanted to ask you, yes, last year, out of a COVID year, that's tough, right? Because they just went over that HBO. They had a show when sports stopped. Everything stopped. The NBA, NHL, everything stopped. How did you get your kids and keep them working and developing? Because it's sad when they take the thing that you love the most and you can't do it. How did you keep your kids mentally focused?
You know, I think it was interesting for the kids. You figure out really quickly how resilient kids are, and what we're asking from them. And I think that it was their outlet. Once sports was back, they were so grateful. They felt so blessed to be able to have back what meant the most to them, where a lot of these kids get their identities, where, you know, friendships are made, lessons are taught, you know, I mean, discipline, everything. So I don't know that we had to do a lot in the sense of getting them motivated to play. I think it was channeling it. Okay, great. We're glad to be here, and just trying to, they were kind of trying to rebalance after being out of things for so long, it being taken away for so long. So, yeah, I think the biggest thing was just, okay, let's go back to remembering what priorities are. Let's prioritize things. But yeah, I've never seen anything like it before. I've never seen, you know, experienced it in my life, and never surely thought that, you know, these kids would, but they were so grateful to just be able to be back competing and doing what they love, and what a healthy thing for them to do. You know, every time they were out there, I'm like, I'm so grateful this is what they're choosing to do. As depression and obesity and all these things were going up everywhere, these kids were choosing to be around, you know, players that they love, coaches that they respect, and play, you know, the game and the sport that's given so much to them. So I think they were just really grateful to be back and be able to do it.
You know, it was tough because we broadcast games last year with no fans in the stands, right? With ProView Networks, we were the only ones allowed in, and it was really a strange, surreal experience. So this year, when we went back and we saw fans in the stands and the band and all the sounds that come with games, you got to love it, right? You mentioned that kids, it's a tough adjustment for everyone, adults, but especially kids, because it's hard to explain to them, well, we'll be back, because we didn't know when. To be honest with you, last March, I really thought we were done. We weren't going to play. I really did think that. I talked to a couple of people and they thought, hey man, and then all of a sudden, boom, they jammed sports, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad.
Me too.
It's great to see you played, I played, and to have the thing, you know, to have the thing taken away that you love the most is, like you mentioned, very mentally tough on kids. So it sounds like, you know, you had a good experience with your team as far as coming out of that, because they're still strong.
Yes, no, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better.
You know, Coach, I wanted to ask you about your schedule, and again, those matchups against Academy. You took 2 or 3 from them. The only blemish you had was against them. You've really rolled through the schedule, and if you look at your last couple of games, you've had some bonanzas: 10-0 against Valley, 10-0 against Bernalillo, 6-0 against Del Norte, and then, you know, that 13-0 against Bernalillo, 9-0 against Bloomfield, which might be your second round opponent. Now, talk a little bit about you got one of the top seeds in the class tournament, and it's Academy, St. Pius, and Hope, top seeds. Now, can't look ahead. You're supposed to be scheduled to maybe play the Academy, but what's your message? Everything goes right, you should be there, right? But, right? There's always that but.
Yep.
What's your message to your team?
Just a game at a time, right? We got to remember our identity. We got to remember what got us there. We were proud and grateful to get the 2 seed, but we have to remember all the hard work and what we learned getting there. So we can't look ahead. It's really easy to look ahead, you know, and look at, Academy, they beat us the last game and that's where we want to go. But again, we've got to get through either Valencia or Bloomfield. We've played both, fortunately, or unfortunately, I guess how we look at it. Both quality teams, great kids. They come out and they try to play. Coaches, it seems like, really try to get them to kind of play the game of soccer. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that, you know, we're just excited to be here and making sure that the girls just put it all in perspective, one game at a time. We cannot look past whoever we play next.
You beat Valencia 5-0. You did mention you did mention playing them, and it is tough not to look ahead because you said that in the paper, right? Hope and Academy are maybe it might play in the semis, but you know, as a coach, it's your job to make sure, because emotionally, I think the way you talk about mental toughness, right? Now, I didn't know a much more tougher mental athlete than you, mentally tough. You also had a knee injury, right? You had to overcome. You overcame a knee injury. So we've all had blips on the screen. If you're an athlete, all of us have been hurt out there, left some pieces of us on the field or on the court or whatever we've done, right? And come back for more. So I think mental toughness on your team, I think with you as the coach, you're always kind of letting them know what's next, and we have to remain focused on the job ahead of us.
Yeah, it just goes so quickly, right? I mean, we look back and how quickly all of this went, that if we couldn't just get back a play or a moment or a game to change the results. So I think that's something that we try to get, these younger kids to think about, is that, hey, can we make sure that it really is just the next play, the next minute, the next, and when we make a mistake, put it in your pocket, zip it, like Phil Jackson always told his players, and move past that. Right. But I do think that that's the biggest thing, is that just remember, stay there for the next play. It's the next play, commit to the next play, the next minute, the next, so yeah, that's my hope, is that the girls go out and do exactly that. Whether it be Bloomfield, whether it be Valencia, that, we take care of business. And then then we focus for the next game ahead.
It's exciting times. It really is, because you're right. It always is when you're chasing that blue, man. I don't care what sport it is. I've seen enough activities, sporting activities. It doesn't matter. If it's swimming, I don't care what it is, man. To get that blue, it means something, right? Because any season, any championship season is pockmarked with challenges we have no idea about, right? Could be injuries, it could be bad calls here and there, right? Could be our own mistakes. So to win that blue at the end of the season, man, you're hoisting that up, and you've got a long way to go before you do that. That is, it's exciting to even pursue that, to be in the tournament, right? You experience that at a high level at Notre Dame. You experience that. So again, I'm sure the kids get so much from that, from your background. Talk a little bit about your team and the background. You've got nine sophomores, 5 freshmen, and 3 8th graders. You mentioned you scored 131 goals and only conceded 8 goals. Yes. Talk a little bit about the background of your team as far as the makeup of the classroom that you have.
Yes. So we do have, like I said, a young team, and what's neat is we've got pockets of them that play on the same club team. So year round, they're training together, or, around each other, involved. And I think that maybe helps our team chemistry some too. But, if you're looking even at our back line, we've got a freshman goalkeeper, a freshman outside back, 2 sophomore center backs, and a senior on the other outside back. So we do have a lot of youth there, but they just work so hard for each other. You wouldn't be able to tell by looking at them that there's youth there. I sometimes forget it. There's times that I coach these kids and I'm asking them to do stuff and have expectations and forget. Some of them are 13, 14 years old. I have 3 little 8th graders that when they get on the field, I'm like, well, I expect the same out of you that I expect out of the seniors. And they do that and more. It's incredible. And I think that helps. Right? When there's a 13-year-old that can step up and beat an 18-year-old in the sprint, and it just raises the entire level of intensity. I can point and say, you've got, there's a 13-year-old beating you right there. Can we not let this happen? So I just think all of it, the kids are so awesome. They're willing for willing to step up to the challenge. And it really, all of that has kind of made our team what they are this year.
I'll tell you what, I'd be mad if I was 18 years old and a 13-year-old. I would be mad. So you saying that to me would definitely ramp up the competitive juices. I'm like, oh, heck no, that's not going to happen. That's me though, right? And that doesn't mean I always want everyone, but some coach might have said something to me back in the day. I'd be like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah. Let me just put that away.
I remember that,
Yes, and I did. Amy Fankham, the Hope Girls soccer coach, thanks so much for joining us. And as someone that has known you for all your life, I am so proud of you. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. Yeah, we wish you the best in the state tournament. We wish you and the Huskies the best of luck. Thank you. Go Huskies. You bet. For producer Aldi Iowani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.